Ben here with Studio on the Lake. This is number 3 in the Vampire Hunter kit. So this one is a Bible. These are the old kits that for some reason someone built in the 1800s. And we're building one very close to this, except we're carving most of the stuff in there. So you might want to pause that video, take a look at what's in there. But the first thing that needs to go in there, we already did. This was number 1 video. This was the cross, or a cross that will go in the kit. I'm going to build the whole box, everything. I've even got vials in there. And this was video number 2. There will be 3 very similar to this with different heads and shafts on them. And then there'll be 3 of one that I'll show you here a little bit later. So I just took a board and kind of started laying stuff out as we got. And there's the second one. You don't have a video of that posted yet. I have it carved, but I didn't. And then there's a hammer that's going to go in the kit. I'm not real fond of this hammer. I may redo it, even though my wife likes the braided on the hand there. And here's a mirror that I did from a cheap dollar store mirror that I took out of a plastic frame. That's more burning than carving, and I may redo that. I have another mirror coming that I ordered from Amazon. I think I might get a little more involved in the carving that, but I'll film what I did on this one in a future video as we go along in the series of the kit. Here's what we're doing today. This is a wooden Bible. I looked at Bibles on eBay, little ones to put in there, because I have glass vials that I ordered and I'm going to put in the kit. And the Bibles were just ridiculously expensive. So here's the second type of stake. This one has a breakaway tip on it, so you would stick that, pound that in the heart, and then break that off and put a different spear point in there. There'll be 3 of those in addition to the 3 of the other. So this is there's not a whole lot of carving in this. This is a little block of maple, and this maple came from I've got a large, probably 1,000 board foot of this. I just happen to have some of this in the studio because I've made a shield that you've seen in the other videos if you're a subscriber or you follow the channel. So it's very simple. Just going to be a little book. It can work for any, like a kid's book, a block or something along those lines. And there's not a whole lot of information there. You cut out a small book shape. Obviously the cover, the hardback cover on it, or a leather cover maybe in a Bible's case, in the book shape. And then you take out the stuff in the center. So I'm going to explain a little bit of what I'm doing here, but I'm going to use this video pretty much to ramble. I put on the back of this spine so that I didn't get confused and cut back into the spine. So that's an Oz 2 Plus handpiece. It's a professional micro power carver. It is brushless, and I'm using a green saber tooth burr in there. I've quit using Cuts-all burrs, and I've went exclusively to saber burrs. And I thought that they were a little bit more expensive than the Cuts-all burrs, but I was looking at Cuts-all burrs yesterday when I was trying to find some other burrs that came up, and I think inflation has gotten them. I remember vaguely paying about $15 for a Cuts-all Extreme, like Jordy Johnson over at Carving Fusion uses. He loves the Cuts-all Extremes. And Jordy's the reason he's a big fan of the Cuts-alls, and he's a big reason why I won't share all the reasons that I'm not using Cuts-alls anymore. I just take it that I'm not using them anymore, at least for a little while. I might give them a try in a year or 2 here, but I've gone exclusively to saber burrs. If you're interested on the stuff on the Cuts-all burrs, you can get with me offline. Send me a question mark in the email link down below, and I'll tell you. I'll share with you my thoughts on and what I found with the Cuts-all burrs. So here's another saber round. And I'm taking that and just, you saw I cut the centers out of that, so I just relief the middle of that, low relief. And then I went ahead and sanded the outer portion of it and shaped it up a little bit. So, next thing is to put on there, and I thought Bible, of course, and you know me, I like to freehand stuff in. So I freehanded that in there. But in addition to and then I'll go back and I'll burn a lot of this stuff in. I use a PJL burner. Ultima 2 comes from a place called PJL Enterprises over in Minnesota. I've used them for 20, 25 years. They used to make my hand pieces in a combo hand piece burner unit that was lost in the fire. I lost 2 of them. This burner has 2 pin setups on it, and the tips are fixed. It's a professional pyrography set, and he has a nice range of pins. I've got a couple pins that I burned out or wore out, and I'll send them back. The pins originally cost about $20. If you send them back to him, he'll put a new tip in them, whatever tip you want. Doesn't have to be the one that was in the pin originally. And they come in a regular duty and a heavy duty. So here's an interesting part on drawing this. The theme I'm kind of going with on this is something I did all the way through when I was a kid in high school, and that's when you're doodling, instead of paying attention in school, I would draw this cross or this star. And you saw the way that was done there. I've got in one of the at the end of this, you'll see, and I recommend you stick around till the end because there's a couple. I give you a preview of some of the other projects, but you can see it's just going to have a star. It's going to be low relief carved. That's a micro burner, and it's got one of the 2 or 3 tips that I have left since I burned up the 2 I normally like. This one's a little more of a heavy-duty tip. It's called a spear point. The little ones, for those of you that have bought burners and follow the channel, I think the 10S or 10 spear, mini spear, micro spear is my favorite one. I will come back with the burr and follow in there. You can see on the spine, I thought it needed something. I didn't know what to do with it. I looked briefly at a couple of books, and then I just wrote on there, Word of God. So there's no confusion in there. I'm not quite sure, and I'll have to, in the future videos, I'll do a little research. I'm not sure what God has to do with the vampires or how the vampires play into the religious portion of it. I just know that they, stuff that goes with those, a vampire can't see themselves in the mirror. They're killed by a wooden stake through the heart. And of course, you can find disagreements on them. Silver bullet doesn't work. Silver bullet is for werewolves. But you can kill them by cutting their heads off. You can hamper them by hamstringing them, cutting their Achilles in the back of their leg so they can't get around. Then you can go do your magic with them. They don't like holy water. They disagree on whether they like or dislike. Sunlight will melt them. I think if you go in the purest sense, they don't like sunlight. Others say that sunlight has nothing to do with it. But if you look at all the modern stuff, one thing that's interesting, they don't like holy water, so you can sprinkle holy water on there. I do have some little vials coming. I'll show you some in a future video. I ordered some, and they were just too small. They're really cute little vials with a cork stopper, but they're too small. Again, that's a small saber burr in the Oz 2. If you are looking at power carving or you're just getting interested in this, this is no different than a Dremel. The only difference between this and a Dremel is the Dremel is obviously a lot cheaper, about $700 cheaper. And the Dremel is fat, so you can't hold it in your hand. You notice how I'm kind of using this like a pencil? And I picked these professional hand pieces for the fact that I can hold them like a pencil, because I do a lot of fine work like this. Now, I do occasionally use a regular Dremel, but I use it with the intent to destroy it. I'm cutting real heavy, got a big burr in it, kind of like Jordy Johnson uses. He calls himself heavy-handed, and he'll use a Cuts All Extreme and just go to town, and you can hear that thing whining in the background. And I don't know. You have to ask Jordy how many. I think he goes through Dremel 4000s. But the same thing with the Fordham. There's various different ones. I have videos out on that if you go back, where I talk about the hand pieces and the various different things. So this is actually called power carving. Now, this burr that I'm playing with now, and I'm cutting the bevels on the side of this thing, it is a ruby. taper, and you can't get those on Amazon. You kind of have to go to Rocky Mountain Carvers or Wood Carvers Supply, one of those, to get those in, and they're about 20-25 bucks a burr. I like them. They tend to wear out a little bit, but one of the reasons I do like them is they wear down. They come in a coarser grit and then a fine grit. I typically only use the fine grits. Occasionally I'll order a coarse one. But as they get more and more worn out, then I start to use them for more of a burnishing effect on things. But if you use one of these ruby burrs, you won't be doing a whole lot of sanding, or you don't have to. It does a pretty nice job. So you'll see that I'm going to take that and kind of concave that in a little bit, and I'll end up reburning the Bible part. I'm not going to bore you and torture you because there's really not a whole lot to this. But at the end of this, you'll see a long, and that's why you should stick around the end, there's a long video, or a long sword, a bigger sword, or dagger, or whatever you want to call it, that's kind of fancy, and it's used the same way to stab down into a vampire's heart. And it's wooden, so it doesn't need to be steel to do that. And it was kind of fun to carve. But I have a in-depth on this star pattern, which I've kind of morphed into a cross. So a vampire can't, they don't like holy water. And they say that they're very compulsive, OCD, and the Chinese legend has it they'd leave a bag of rice outside your door, and a vampire can't go by the bag of rice without stopping and counting all the pieces of rice in the bag. The same thing goes with sand. So in some of these kits, you'll see vials of rice, where you take that and throw that out on the ground. The vampire can't attack you because his urges won't let him. He has to stop and count every single grain of sand that you threw out, or count every grain of rice that you threw out. So when we start putting the kit together, and I'll put some rice and sand in the vials with little holders for the full vampire kit. And everybody needs a vampire kit because you never know when one's going to show up. So I'm just kind of burning some radials in on this. One of the other things that I thought that I was going to, I'm thinking about doing, I'm thinking about putting together a very simple medieval type of crossbow, a small one, like a crossbow pistol. I may or may not get that done, but I'm planning on that right now. So, and the case or the box, I'm going to go all out on that, and that'll probably be a couple videos and put that together. I'm not going to show you this, but I burn around the inside of the cover, and then I do go ahead and burn down in there and get some pages in. I like the way this turned out. I thought it came out pretty good. You could use this for a kid's book. You could take, I imagine, your significant other's favorite book and shrink it down and carve it in wood miniature. Make it a little bit smaller than this even. Make it a necklace or a bracelet, or just a small keepsake piece like this to hold on the wall, or on whatever. But this would be a good little kid's toy. And I will go back. So like all the pieces here, I've been finishing them with shellac. You see one of the stakes there in the background. And man, that guy didn't put that in there. But I just put 1 or 2 coats of shellac on these. And this is an amber shellac. I let it dry. It dries fairly quickly. Within half an hour it's dry. And then I'll take some 4/0 steel wool and smooth it down a little bit. And if it needs it, I'll put another coat on. But then I take regular furniture wax. You can even use just the Johnson floor paste wax works really well. Rub a coat or two that on, buff it off, and you get this really nice semi-gloss, smooth finish that feels real nice in the hand. So you're coming to the end of this one. There's really not a whole lot of carving in this, but it was kind of fun. I've got 3 or 4 more videos with the different things, elements of this. Some stuff I haven't carved. I'm down in Iowa here for 1 more week, and then I'll be back home for a week, and I'll get a bunch of more carving done. I'll even do some editing. I'm trying to space editing out on these one every week or so, and I'm about 4 or 5 days late on that because I get busy on doing what I'm doing. So there's a preview. There's all the little pieces that are starting to come together. You can see that that's going to turn out to be a pretty big box, so it's going to be unique. I've already got some ideas on how to do that. I think I'm going to redo the hammer, although I'll show you the video on that hammer. And then I think I'm going to redo the mirror. So this is a fun project. I suggest you build yourself one. You could even build a mini kit with just a few things in it. It doesn't have to have all the rest of the stuff. You can see that I burned the pages on that. So coming up, here's a preview of one piece that's going in there, and this is a dagger, and it's got a bunch of ornamentation on it in various different parts. You'll get to see that. I'll put the video of that out, but that was kind of fun to do, and it turned out really neat. It also necessitates that I'm going to have a much bigger box to carry that kit around, and then I'm going to have to make it fairly thin on the sides of the box and the top and bottom, or you won't be able to carry it around. It'll be 50 pounds of wood. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you like what you see, we certainly could use your support. I want to thank everybody that's been supporting all along. I am going to finish this thing up in this series, and then I owe Mike, one of the viewers who's been watching for a long time, I owe him a raven, and I really need to get back to do the raven. Got done with all those commission pieces, and then I got a wild hair on this, doing this little series. I may or may not do another deal with. Go over and check out Jordy Johnson. He has a contest, 3 mushrooms and a gnome carving. He suggested everybody do those. I did the plaque for that in the last one. I showed that. I'll show it again a few more times. But I'm holding on to that. Jordy's going to figure out who give that to and who wins those. He's done a couple. I think Just Carve Rob. Go check him out. Check out some of the other people down below. Mark the Maker, those guys. I've got the links down in the there that I follow along with. So if you like the video and you like where these things are going, I'm good for all kinds of suggestions. You can share stories with me if you know of things that need to go in the kit that I'm not thinking of. I think the next one I might spend a little time and delineate everything that I'm going to put in the kit. But hey, like, comment, subscribe. This has been Ben with Studio on the Lake, and hope to see you on the next one.